I actually had a student come and sit in front of me in my office about 3 weeks ago, and he actually said, I've been diagnosed by a psychiatrist as narcissistic. And obviously, it was a huge blow for him. And that for me was very interesting that he was sitting there and he was in tears in my office because he had been diagnosed as a narcissist by a highly qualified professional. And he said, I don't know what to do with this. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to have this disorder. And here I am, I'm just the counselor, and I'm trying to cope with this guy who's been treated by a professional psychiatrist, and he's distraught. And I had to say to him, well, you need professional help from a person who can know how to deal with this. So I referred him obviously back to a psychologist and said, you need to learn how to get the insight. You're longing for it because the fact that he's distraught by the actual diagnosis shows there's something in him that wants to connect and be empathetic and have insight and have consideration, but he just doesn't know how to. And the anger, funny enough, Stefan, was definitely part of it. What he also mentioned was his anger. I said, I can help you with some anger management stuff, but the actual narcissistic stuff, you need help from a psychologist. So I just want to say, even when people are diagnosed as narcissistic, there might be the person who actually says, I don't want to be this. How can I be helped? Is there
Yeah.
some medication? Can I do some psychological, what tools can I use to try and overcome this? Whether it's the rage, whether it's the grandiosity, whether it's lack of consideration, whatever it is. So I just want to say, even if somebody is a narcissist, there is hope. And that's obviously
Mm.
quite an extreme case. Thanks, Stefan.
No. Ach, no, but thank you, Beverly. And it just shows that, yes, it is possible for someone to realize that, hey, there is something wrong. Because with narcissism, the core of it, the reason why there needs to be that constant validation is because there's an emptiness on the inside that says, I am absolutely worthless. Self-esteem is rock bottom. I need to construct this outer shell that is so tough, so spiky, so uplifting of who I am that I need to be encapsulated by validation. When I think about a narcissist, I'm thinking of a black hole where all validation, all ideas of approval gets sucked in and it never gets filled. And that's kind of like the thing you might think, oh, if he just achieves this, if this person just achieves that, it will satiate or get them to rest. But if the core of that very vulnerable and hurt child doesn't get reached, then nothing, unfortunately, can happen there. Um, I did actually see here, if it's okay, I would actually like to answer some of the questions I've seen here in the chat. So I did see, for example, Jonita spoke about, and also Priscilla, about the different types of narcissism, covert, and then of course we also get overt narcissism. Um, so Jonita said that the covert is the hardest to spot. They don't see a psychologist easy as they don't think they need help. Well, I would actually like to just kind of like repeat what I said. Regardless of the type of narcissism, the lack of the level of insight is what makes it easy or hard for an individual to see a psychologist. It's actually quite rare that a narcissist would come to a psychologist of their own accord. It's usually due to relationship problems that they kind of get dragged, so to speak, to therapy, where they either get kind of like shown in the mirror, like this is what you're doing, or where someone is trying to force them to change, but they don't necessarily want to change. But then, yeah, there's two. I know there's multiple different variations of narcissism, and different presentations do occur. But the kind of like the two most classical ones is the overt and covert. Overt being very outwardly boastful, trying to do everything in their power to kind of like get the spotlight onto them to say that this is how good of a person I am, that I need this validation. I need to be treated as this absolute the best thing since sliced bread. I need to be treated in this way where other people need to see me. They need to see how good of of an individual I am. So overt is kind of like this classical presentation of grandiosity and yeah, just wanting to be seen. While with the covert, it actually looks like depression almost. They have this kind of like woe is me kind of presentation of this is really bad what's happening to me. Why does this keep happening? They seem to be downtrodden, but underneath that downtrodden kind of like presentation, there's this, why can't people just see why they need to, why I'm the best here? Why can't they see that I actually know what is the best in this situation? There's kind of like this presentation of being vulnerable, being hurt, but the core of that hurt is, but I actually know the right answer here. I've got this grand idea of what to do. It's still very much surrounding the this whole idea that I need to be, my ego needs to be fed, but it's taken it from the perspective of instead of this boastfulness, it's kind of like this, the focus still needs to be on me, but it's due to me feeling so downtrodden, if I can state it like that. So those are kind of like the two main different presentations of narcissism. So how do you deal with yourself when you relate with a person with narcissism? Um, Okay, I see Maria stated to please send this question in the Healing Hub. So should I take that as something to that would be discussed at a later stage there, Maria?
You're welcome to answer. I just think from a lady's side that we can give quite a lot of input there, you know. It
Mhm.
can, yeah, but you're welcome to also say what you think, Stefan.
No, I would actually want a bit more clarification actually, and maybe that it would be better to hand that over to the ladies to address that. Um, so I'll leave that there for you. Let me quickly see if there's anything else here. Want to know is to help us decide whether to bother to keep hoping. Okay, Priscilla, I see what you're saying there. To understand whether it's worth it to try and kind of like push through. And I think, as in with any relationship and any challenging behaviors. I mean, just this morning, I've heard ladies at different areas of this journey, whether it is still walking with their husbands or partners, or making that decision to say that no, I believe that what is best for me and what brings me the most worth is to be able to create that distance, however that distance might look. So I would rather say the whether or not the person would have a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. I think it's more important to ask yourself whether or not, regardless if a label would be slapped on there, to say, you know what is most worthy for you? Looking at your own value of who you are as a person and what you would truly want, what would make you happy, discussing that with other individuals as well, to be able to say, you know what, is this something I want to keep pushing? How long have I been pushing? What has been working? What hasn't been working? Does this seem like there is an outcome here or not? Um, I think these are the factors to look at. Whether or not a label can be put to this or not, I don't personally, and this is just my personal opinion. I don't think that should be the thing that should say whether or not you need to make a decision that's best for your own safety, for your own worth, for you as well as the people around you. But well, once again, this is just from my opinion, being someone who has the honor to be here this morning. So yeah, take that with in the way you wish. Um, Thank you, Priscilla. And I see Unita said here, then again, it helps getting the label, like my child with reactive attachment disorder. Okay, I know that no amount of therapy will change her. Okay, and I do hear the Unita. The labels can, or having that diagnosis can help to give kind of like the closure of knowing, okay, this is the package I'm dealing with. It can help there in that extent to be able to know, okay, what do I need to do in this situation then, when I do have that label. And if it seems feasible, if it seems like it's something that that brings closure, that's up to the prerogative of you and your husband or your partner to be able to say, okay, do we need to go and get a diagnosis? Would he even want to see a psychologist, for example? If he doesn't, then yeah, unfortunately, that then is the reality there. But it does help to be able to kind of like know the lay of the land, so to speak. And then Anita said, I heard someone once say, if you think you're a narcissist, you're probably not. I like that. Oh, yeah, no. It shows a level of insight to be able to wonder about your own behavior. So whether or not you're a narcissist or not, just asking the question yourself shows a better level of insight than someone who wouldn't even think of it before. Do people who struggle with addiction always often have an underlying psychiatric disorder? So Lauren asked that. So not necessarily. It can be comorbid, but once again, psychiatric disorders is going to the outermost of certain um, uh, behavioral or human nature. It's human nature going into extremes in certain ways, in whatever way that might be. So it depends. I don't think addiction can occur without any underlying hurt, without any underlying pain, whatever that reason might be. But whether or not that underlying hurt leads to a comorbid psychological diagnosis depends on the individual, their history, what they've gone through, and their presentation. And then I see also Kenneth sent here the Greek roots of the word narcissist from the mythological figure of Narcissus, who was known for his exceptional beauty. The story most famously told by Overt in his Metamorphosis involves Narcissus falling in love with his own reflection in a pool of water, unable to tear himself away. This myth is the basis for the term narcissism, which describes someone excessively preoccupied with themselves and their importance. Thank you, Kenneth. And I see you're going into depth here in terms of it.
No need to go
Okay.
through that now. That's
No.
for everyone to see. So let's
Okay.
focus a little bit more on some of the questions and feedback, Stefan. So no need to, if there's any questions that hasn't been answered or that anybody would like to ask, we can still discuss them. We don't have to get through all the questions there. Yes, Stefan?
Just something I want to quickly answer what Maria said, and then Estelle, if the question's for me there, I would happily answer them. So, Stefan, do they have any feelings or do they numb themselves constantly? So, narcissists definitely do feel. I think it's due to an extreme amount of feeling that they block themselves off of what they are experiencing. They need to set up these barriers because at their utmost core, they feel extremely, extremely vulnerable. But when it comes to maybe, for example, do they feel empathy? Most, okay, not most. I wouldn't say that. I don't feel like I'm in a position to say that. But a lot of narcissists struggle with empathy to understand other people's feelings. They might have cognitive empathy. And what I mean by cognitive empathy is they can see, oh, that person is sad, that person is angry, that person is happy. And they might use that cognitive empathy either as it can be a good launching off point to help further develop emotional empathy, But it can also be a jumping off point for someone to be manipulative. Oh, I can read what that person is feeling, therefore I'm going to mold my own behavior and my own intentions in such a way so that I can best get what I want out of the situation. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword if a narcissist has cognitive empathy. But a lot of narcissists don't have emotional empathy. They can see that you are feeling this, but they don't really, it doesn't hit their heart. They don't resonate with the feeling that you're necessarily experiencing. But I wouldn't say it's impossible for a narcissist to develop a certain amount of emotional empathy. All right, Estelle, I also saw that your hand was up. I just wanted to make sure that this was something addressed to me, or was it addressed to any of the other members of the team?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask, and I see a few ladies also ask the same question, coming down to the victim mentality that always comes up continuously in relationships from the narcissist side. If you can just speak about that a little bit. Thank you.
So, okay, I would say when it comes to kind of like the presentation of the victim, I'm going to try and say what I do know, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I have the most knowledge when it comes to that. But I think when a narcissist goes into and Beverly, Kenneth, if you guys also want to come in here with your own insights, please do. But as I understand it, the victim mentality comes up as a way to still bolster their own ego. If it comes from the narcissist, it is, but why are you doing this to me? I always try to do my utmost best in order for this to happen, but it never comes from a place of, oh, I feel truly like I've been wronged in just this one instance. It's more like, why are you putting me in this place where I'm not the high and almighty, so to speak? If I can kind of like refer to it as that, but a victim mentality can be used as a manipulation tactic to be able to try and change kind of like the power, to ensure that they still have that kind of like power or sense of superiority. The only reason that this wrong thing is happening to me is not because of me, it must be because of you. They externalize their problems. All good is in me, and all bad is out there. If anything tries to knock down my ego, my sense of worth, it mustn't be because of me. It must be because of whatever's happening around me. And maybe on a very deeper, very vulnerable level, they might still acknowledge that there is the hurt because they feel inferior, but because they project it as intensely as they do, they don't necessarily notice that they're actually feeling so deeply insecure that it must be an external source that is the root cause of the problem.